When you're ready.
All right, thank you, Ben. At this time, I'd like to call to order the North Canton Committee of the Whole meeting, December 14th, 2020, 7 p.m. And Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member Stroya?
Here.
Member Revolt?
Here.
Member Fonte?
Here.
Member Peters?
Here.
Member Soretta?
Here.
Member Foltz?
Here.
And Member Warren?
Here.
7 present.
All right, thank you, Ben. And just a quick heads up reminder, under new council rule number 14, we need a voice vote to move items out of committee to the legislative agenda. So with that being said, we'll move on to community and economic development. Chairman Revolt, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. By way of background, Council, you may remember that we did a 2019 community survey. And as part of that survey, 47% of the respondents, and this is the aggregate number, rated our code enforcement either fair, poor, or no opinion. So basically half the community barely gave us a passing grade on code enforcement. So the administration has put together a plan. We have 3 elements of 4 that are coming, 3 tonight, A, B, and C. What we intend to do, or the administration intends to do, is to address outdated language in our code and establish a management structure with personnel who are responsible for the administration of the building code. We are going to repeal a section of the code, we're going to introduce a new one, and then create a new architecture to manage it. And this will be a new division. We're going to move it from engineering to this new division, if you will, development services. The good news is that we have been able to utilize Marty and Safe Build for this language, which you have in your packets. And the purpose tonight is really, in terms of this restructuring, is, as we discussed earlier, this is to get it in front of the council, to allow it to work through the break, to read it, ask questions, have the law department look at it, and then the plan is to get this back on the 25th of January and begin the legislative process. This follows, as I referenced, the 4th part of this, and this will be rental registration. So we've got to have what we're going to enforce first, and then we'll have the registration components follow. So I think we're getting close to something we've all wanted over the last many months and years. We're moving in that direction. So Marty's got 10 things to look at. Marty, why don't you jump in here and walk through these real quick for us, okay?
Absolutely, thank you. So I do have 10 of the top points here. Obviously, there's a lot of material here, approximately 66 pages, and really the goal for this legislation is to combine multiple areas of the ordinance to bring them into one section and also streamline the process, as well as help clarify what the property owner's expectations are and clarify those expectations in this as well. So the first item looking at, of course, we talked about was the repeal and replacing of Part 17. It's formally the housing code, and it really does focus on residential. The second part is much of this language comes from the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code. That's the model code language. This is used nationwide and in many jurisdictions within Ohio as well. The third item is, and as I mentioned, with the housing code being focused on residential, this will now make it applicable to commercial as well as residential. So we're not limited to just residential. Any of the commercial properties that are in violation, there are now tools that and requirements for the maintenance of commercial properties as well. Number 4, there is, as part of this, we're proposing to establish the Property Maintenance Review Board. And essentially, this would be the appeal body for this section of the ordinance. And part of the reasoning behind that is much of the cases that this board would see are much different than what the Zoning Board of Appeals sees, on their regular business. This board would be focused to property maintenance and would already have a background of some kind and focus towards property maintenance. The next item there, of course, and as I mentioned, does include some additional enforcement tools, and I've split those out under that number 5. And the first one you see is civil penalties. Currently, what we have now is criminal penalties, and particularly with COVID-19, the pandemic, the courts are reluctant to convene a jury for zoning violations. So with this, we're bringing in some civil penalties. There is a fee schedule included in there, but to give an overview on those, the first violation would be $150. The second violation of the same would be $250, and the third violation of the same would be $500. Each of these violations would be cumulative daily, as each day is a new violation. That is, unless they were to file for a corrective action plan. What that corrective action plan does is it gets them into the office, and we develop a plan of bringing the project into compliance. But more importantly, it stops the daily violations. So it gives them a chance to bring it into compliance while stopping the daily violations. And I'd like to point out, with any of the enforcement tools, voluntary compliance is always and will continue to be, our priority in that. We don't want to utilize any of these tools if we don't have to. And we're always working towards explaining the process. The noticing requirements that are in this ordinance have that built into it as well. So there'll be plenty of notice before any of these penalties are activated. The second item there under the enforcement tools is the abatement of violations. This generally would apply to more of the egregious violations, such as, if a structure required to be secured through boarding, and then we'll get into, there's another line item later on boarding, or the other scenario that might be is a structure that's in risk of collapse. This allows the city to go in and do the abatement of the hazardous situation and charge that against the property. The third item is a notice of non-compliance. Essentially, that's a document that gets filed with the county recorder's office, and that would notify anyone that may have an interest in the property, either currently or future owners. Let's say someone was prospective, buyer of the property. When they did a title report, this would be generated, and theoretically should be generated in that title report, letting them know that there's some issues that need to be addressed on this property. The fourth item is criminal penalties. And as I mentioned, that's really the main tool that we have currently. This clarifies some of that. 4 separate violations in a 7-year period of the same would be a misdemeanor of the first degree. Then, of course, number 5 is legal remedies through the law department. That might be an injunction, receivership, or something along those lines, but that clarifies that the law department can also help with this. Number 6 is the vacant property registration. Now, we currently have a vacant property registration. There's a fee schedule set in place for that already. The current fee schedule currently and proposed is $200 application fee and a $200 inspection fee. And you'll see on that last part, this again would be applicable to commercial properties. Now, maybe for the next committee meeting, there were a couple different ways this could go. I did find in my research, there were a number of communities throughout Ohio that did build in an incentive, if you will, through this program with escalating registration fees, where they all generally started out at $200, but each year they progressively escalated all the way up to $4,000 a year after 4 or 5 years of being vacant. So that did give them some type of incentive to do something with the property. And again, oh, go ahead.
Marty, I was just going to say, and we got other things we can talk about later, but just for the purpose of getting it out there. So a lot of people won't understand. I get what you're saying, like for foreclosures and things like that. But I think a lot of people will be thinking right out of the gate, like, okay, my mom just went into a nursing home and the house is vacant for 5 months before we get ready to sell it. That shouldn't count as registration, correct?
We're not talking about registration tonight.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm certain whoever's listening is thinking this right away.
No,
But
this
there's
is just the
more
main,
things to talk about.
this
Okay,
is just
fair
the
enough. Move
maintenance
on.
code. And
Move on.
the process to deal with maintenance and code violations. That's it.
Absolutely. And that's a good clarification on this. The property does have to be vacant, not being marketed for real estate, and it is in violation of the property maintenance code. So there are many aspects that trigger this requirement. It's not a simple.
I understand. That's why I asked the question, just because I know there's people listening.
Absolutely. So in this draft document, there are no changes in the fees. What the main change is here is that it is applicable to commercial properties. And that's found in 1708.2 of the draft language. Number 7 is the weed abatement. We currently have weed abatement procedures. This is more of a streamlined process. A lot of how this would be implemented is more administrative. We could continue to do the annual posting in the newspaper, but it's not a requirement in this draft language. And again, this more streamlines this process. Number 8 introduces a dangerous tree section that gives some authority to address dangerous trees in the communities. And that's 1732.5. The weed abatement was 1732.4. Then number 9 is it defines unsafe conditions for the exterior and interior of the premises, and those are found primarily in 1734 for the exterior and 1735 for the interior. And the last item is the requirement and clarification for securing buildings which are required to be boarded up. And the main change in the draft or model language here is this requires a clear polycarbonate sheeting material. And this again is something we'd look for direction from council on. The draft model code language was plywood. That can often, or almost always, is very unsightly, particularly where you have a community and there's multiple boarded up homes or commercial buildings. It does diminish, the appearance of the neighborhood. The clear polycarbonate sheathing is not as obvious. There's a couple areas or a couple ways to address that, either by requiring them to paint the board if polycarbonate sheeting was not the desirable way to go. The downside with the polycarbonate sheeting, of course, is there's additional costs. It does look better though. So that's an overview of the language. We wanted to introduce this language, have an opportunity to read through it over the break. And we're recommending we come back for the next committee meeting to discuss, any recommendations or questions, as well as I'm available for questions throughout the break as well. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have between now and the next committee meeting.
Okay, thanks, Marty. Okay, so we've got items 3A, B, and C. I think we've touched on all of these. We're not going to take any action tonight. But they will come back on the 25th of January.
Mr. Chair, may
Real
I
quick
speak?
question.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Go
Mark.
ahead. You'll probably answer it, Pat, so go ahead.
No, I was going to let you go, so I don't know what your question is. I was just
Oh,
going to make.
my question. I think this is great. And Marty, thank you for that. That was a good summation of that. And I like all this kind of stuff. Is this going to result, though, in new hires and new personnel that are going to be on
No.
the payroll?
No.
Okay. So I wanted to also. So good stuff. That's all, Pat.
It's kind of related to that, though, Mark, if I may, is that, just in my observation in having been in this capacity, not quite 3 years yet, but my experience from the inside looking out has been that in order to do what, I get issues from, that are brought to me by city council and, by members of the community and whatever, and people want action on things. And, unfortunately, we never had all of the proper components in place to do anything. And the first place of that is a complete overhaul of what the rules of engagement are. And we never had that. We never had an entity or a being that could do that heavy lift. So we've put this in place with Safe Built. They are capable of that heavy lift. So we're getting that. And it's having the proper people and structure and process in place to go out and execute on that. I believe we have that in place now. Yeah, so we don't need to hire anybody. We just need the proper tools. And then that includes, on the legal end of it, getting this worked out so that we have total flexibility on how we can approach this. And in light of where we are and what we learned in 2020 with the courts and how they feel about certain things being referred down to them, I think this is a great step. And it's not the only step. There's still other pieces that we need to bring to council to be able to address, all the issues that are brought forward regarding, the conditions of properties. And we're all trying to get to the same spot, which is, increasing property values. That's the thing. That's what makes it work for you as a property owner, as your residents. It makes it work for the schools. It makes it work for the city, is we want those property values to go up. And one way to make sure that happens is by, enforcing a maintenance code. And what I had noted over the years is that, particularly on the commercial properties, there was no regulation in place that gave us anything that we could do. So I'm talking with Marty, hey, if you're going to do it for the commercial, let's start from scratch and just separate it out, create a new department, so to speak, and then move forward with that. So, but there's no intention of hiring anybody for this. So thank you.
All right. Because we're not going to recommend legislative action this evening, but continued discussion, I don't think we need a voice vote. Do we, Mr. Clerk?
We do not, sir.
All right. So if there are no other objections, we should go on. Okay, I'm done.
All right, thank you, Daryl. All right, next up is Finance and Property. Chairwoman Warren, floor is yours.
Okay, these, and Gina, you may just want to.
Wait a minute. Steph, we can't hear you.
Did we lose our?
Yeah, I think our connection's bad.
I think she was referring to me, so
Yeah, she was. Heard that.
Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and explain, and if she can come back and want to finish up, then we'll do that. So these are the year-end appropriations.
If there's appropriations for the end of the year, we had talked about this.
Wait, what's going on?
I think
Hold on.
her audio
Can
was
you-
just catching up.
Can you guys hear me?
You're kind of going in and out, Steph.
It shows her on mute.
I would say pass the torch.
Yeah, Stephanie, if you
Keep
can
going,
hear me,
Gina.
we're going to go ahead and move it on to Gina and let her do a quick overview.
Okay, so these are the year-end appropriations. We go through line by line and see what money we had left over on each line, and we just true up the budget. So our first priority is to move in between lines if we needed some money on other lines, or if, for instance, like our rentals, we knew our rental revenue was going to be down this year because of COVID. We have many exceptions. I'm not going to go through every one of them right now. After I close year end, though, in January, I will present to you sort of a summary line by line, how we did and what happened. But for an example, our rentals, we budgeted around 155,000. I'm sorry, 180,000, but we were down 155,000. So that's one example. We had to reduce that estimated revenue for rentals. But on the other hand, BWC came through and gave us 3, and we're expecting a 4th refund. So that was almost $539,000 and split over multiple funds. So I'll summarize those for you as we true up the final check runs in the next couple of weeks, and close out. We have one more payroll this year as well. And so total, just to give you an idea, the amendments that have come through council this year, and this just explains, like, I know we just finished the 2021 budget, and it's sort of like the weather forecast, where it is as good as what we know right now, and it is our guide, our focus area of things that we want to accomplish next year, which is what we did last year for this budget. Things changed a lot this year. And for 2020, we had $9.8 million in revenue adjustments, but keep in mind about 6.3 million of that were bond issues, so those were one-time monies. And then on the expense side, we had $4.5 million in budget amendments that have come through council through the course of the year. So again, we'll go through and explain all of those as we true up the final and close out the year, and we'll present to you a year-end summary in January when we reconvene.
All right. Thank you, Gina. Steph, do we have you now?
Stephanie says that she can hear everything, but is having trouble talking, but we're okay to move on. I would like to note that there was a minor typographical error in the spelling in this ordinance in your packets, which has been fixed.
Okay. All right, so we need to move this to the legislative agenda. Do I have a motion and a second to move this to it?
Revolt moves.
Shredder second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, well, that concludes the committee of the whole meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Revolt moves.
Shredder second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We are adjourned. And now at this time, I'd like to call to order the North Canton City Council regular meeting, December 14th, 2020. The time is 7:24. Mark, would you like to lead us in opening prayer?
Sure. Lord, thank you for bringing us together and the honor of serving your community. Help us to listen, to understand, and learn, and to help make decisions in your name. Give us the courage, the determination, and the compassion to lead. Keep our community and this world safe and healthy. And help us to come out of this challenging times with stronger faith and hope in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mark. All right, at this time, if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Liberty and
liberty,
justice for all.
justice. All right, at this time, Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member Stroya?
Here.
Member Revolt?
Which stands.
Member Fonte?
Here.
Member Peters?
Justice for all.
Here.
Member Sreda?
Here.
Member Foltz?
Here.
And Member Warren?
Here.
7 present.
All right, folks, for your consideration, I need a motion and a second to approve as presented. Minutes from November 25th, 2020, City Council, and minutes from December 1st, 2020, organizational meeting and the accompanying certification of elections.
So moved,
Revolt
Warren.
moved. Revolt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Ben, okay, at this time we have no one for recognition of visitors, so we will move on to special presentation. First one is special presentation on a report on the state of the 2020 master plan from Council or Clerk of Council Ben Young. Ben, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. So, as often happens in my job, especially doing records projects, I stumble upon things. And one of the things I stumbled upon was the resolution acknowledging the 2012 master plan and supporting it. And in that resolution, the council at the time stated that it would be reviewed every September. And it just so happened that I stumbled upon it in September of 2020. And at that point, I began the process of reviewing where are we, what goals have we accomplished, what goals haven't we accomplished. And with a lot of help from Chairman Revolt from Community and Economic Development and the Office of the Mayor, we are finally ready to present to you all today what I hope is a factual report of did we or did we not accomplish the goals that were laid out in that plan. So just a quick reminder, as I'm sure you all know, the 2012 master plan was written in 2012. The city and the Chamber of Commerce collaborated and received help from the Kent State Cleveland Urban Design Collaborative, as well as many, many community members to produce a master plan for the city that focused on 3 key areas: identity, corridors and connections, and development potential. And so what I'd like to do tonight is just to go through each of these 3 categories and talk about the major goals that were identified by the master plan and where those goals stand today. So first is identity, which was all about promoting North Canton as a great place to live, work, and play. The first step in identity was creating gateway and directional signage for the city to create a sense of place. Both of these things have been accomplished. As we all know, there are beautiful brick and stone markers at every major entrance to the city. And along Main Street, there are the white and black directional signage to important city landmarks. Those directional signs will need to be updated as the city continues to develop, and potentially the entrance markers will need to be moved if the city ever expands. Along with this was also the phase out of the Dogwood City motto, which has essentially been completed. Next under identity was the Main Street Square, revitalizing the square and making it kind of the beating heart of the city. This included improving Bitzer Park, adding the amphitheater in Bitzer Park, improving the City Hall portico, and improving the front lawn of Hoover. The City Hall portico, as I'm sure you all know, was redone quite recently in conjunction with addressing some water damage concerns to the portico. Bitzer Park improvements, including the amphitheater that was called for in the master plan, were approved earlier this year by City Council. And at the moment, the Hoover front lawn is still privately controlled, but the city has a number of incentives to try and help that project move forward, which we'll talk about in this presentation. One of such incentives that was called for by the master plan was to create a special improvement district in downtown North Canton. These are also known as business improvement districts. While that specifically has not been has not been pursued, the city is pursuing downtown redevelopment districts. And downtown redevelopment districts are very similar to special improvement districts in that they collect special fees to help offset the cost of real improvements to the district, such as infrastructure and beautification. But what the redevelopment district adds that the improvement district does not is it pairs those fees with tax incentives, so that it isn't just an additional cost to the property owner. The property owner also gets additional value. And as you see on the screen, the proposed DRDs cover most of downtown North Canton, including the Hoover District. And this legislation has been written, it's crafted, it's ready to go. It's just awaiting a project in one of these districts. Next was special zoning districts. The master plan focused particularly along Main Street. But as you all know, from last year, we passed legislation to actually expand this into a larger zoning rewrite effort. And Main Street will be just phase one of a greater effort to improve the entire city zoning code. What's being drafted right now is that Main Street corridor called the Corridor of Opportunity Zoning for North Canton's Second Century, and that should hopefully come to City Council next year. The next major category is corridors and connections. This was about improving how easy it is for citizens to travel and how well those connections helped visitors get to the main attractions of North Canton. The first goal was improving walkability of the downtown core. The master plan envisioned this highly walkable downtown centered on that Main Street square with benches, trees, and flower beds. Installation of any of these improvements is limited due to the limited public right-of-way controlled by the city along Main Street. And if these type of improvements are to be pursued, it would most likely need to be part of a larger Main Street project, reimagining what that section of Main Street looks like. And there are several other things that tie into that, and we'll talk about that in more detail at the end. A perfect example of something else to tie into that is calming Main Street traffic. So the master plan felt that it would benefit businesses on Main Street in that downtown core to reduce the number of lanes, lower the speed limit, and create on-street parking. Just like walkability, this would have to be incorporated into a larger Main Street project, and it hasn't been pursued yet because it would need to be part of a huge multifaceted project and can't be taken on really just by itself. Third, the corridors and connections talked about bicycle access and creating sharrows. This hasn't really been pursued in the city, and as we've seen in Canton, bicycle lanes aren't necessarily a build it and they will come type thing. Currently, we don't see high numbers of cyclists in our roads, but if that were to become more of a concern in the future, this might be something to revisit. Finally, the master plan talked about development potential, and what this really meant was economic development, or what are key areas in the city where development could be steered for the benefit of the entire community. The first key step that the master plan called for was land banking. It wanted the city to take control of 7 key development sites that it identified. And the city has just this year started on this project. One of the 7 key development sites that was identified was the Kmart property, which the pictures you see on screen are pictures from the North Canton master plan depicting that North Main Street Kmart property, which the city now owns and administration is working on proposals for. Another key development site was Arrowhead Golf Course, which the city also owns and is currently still operating as a golf course. The other 7 sites included the Hoover District downtown, the Waterside Center, the old Spitzer car sales lot, all of which are still currently privately owned, but we have created a number of incentives for them to develop, which we will get to very shortly. Second was a Main Street parking plan. The master plan recognized that if significant development did happen along Main Street, there isn't a large amount of public parking along the Main Street corridor for those businesses to operate off of. And so the master plan wanted to take a look at the Main Street corridor and kind of create an overall parking plan. Again, this would probably need to be tied into a larger Main Street project, but just recently, St. Paul's overflow parking lot was redone with a lot of help from the community, the city, and surrounding businesses. As I've been referencing, the master plan also called for development incentives. And so far, the city has been trying its best to create those incentives. First, as we just passed earlier this year, was the community reinvestment area, which offers property tax incentives to redevelop deteriorating and kind of dilapidated real estate. Second, as we just passed recently, a designated outdoor refreshment area, which helps incentivize restaurants and dining and pedestrian traffic on that Main Street corridor. Third, as we talked about earlier, downtown redevelopment districts. We have them ready to go. They would also pair property tax incentives with redevelopment to try and get major development sites moving faster. And fourth, in recent years, the city has really seen a reinvigoration of its community improvement corporation, and the CIC is actively helping with land banking efforts and redevelopment efforts along Main Street. Just recently in this past year, they've helped get at least 2 businesses into our Main Street corridor, helping to build a stronger community. So, as kind of a summation, I just wanted to point out what, in my view, as kind of a newcomer, just reading this plan, looking at what's been done, what hasn't, what I felt the biggest item left out there to be accomplished was. And I think after this presentation, it should be no surprise that that item is the vision for the downtown core. As I've talked about on numerous other slides, a lot of the parts of the 2012 master plan fed into creating a pedestrian-friendly, very beautiful downtown core business district, such as the potential intersection of Charlotte depicted in this picture from the master plan on screen. A lot of the unaccomplished projects from the master plan tie into this vision. And so my recommendation would be that city leadership consider if this vision of the downtown core is still where the city wants to go. And if it is, then the next steps should be planning for what that looks like. This is impacted, though, by some outside things that we might want to wait for. For instance, a new school is coming just behind Main Street, just behind City Hall, just off Main Street on Charlotte. That traffic could significantly impact what that downtown square looks like in the mornings. And before we undertook any projects like this, we would likely want to do a traffic study. It might be prudent to wait until that school is in place to do the traffic study. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the improvements along Main Street, such as on-street parking, benches, trees, flower beds, expanded sidewalks, they're all dependent on competing for the same part of a limited right-of-way along Main Street. And so they likely can't be accomplished unless either Main Street gets expanded or Main Street gets contracted back down to 2 lanes, and that extra lane space is used to create these beautifications. So there are a lot of moving parts that would feed into creating this vision. And that's why I would say the next step would be to look at, is this vision still the vision that the city wants? The other big unanswered question at the time of the master plan was the fate of Arrowhead Golf Course. But as you all know, the city just approved a management agreement for 5 years. the last report I received was that the course is expected to be profitable despite COVID-19 concerns this year. I'm sure that once we get past January 1st into the new year, the Director of Administration will give you all a wonderful update on Arrowhead's activities for 2020. But in the meantime, the city is considering the addition of recreational facilities at the Arrowhead Golf Course site, which were actually suggested by the master plan. In one of the ordinances you'll consider tonight, there's actually pickleball court installations for Arrowhead Golf Course, and that was actually suggested in the master plan. A final piece I want to throw in are possible plan additions, things that we might want to fold into the master plan that we've done since and are along the same lines of development. So I've divided these into outside and inside projects. Outside are plans that have arisen since the master plan was written, are also looking to improve our community, but aren't covering the same topics. So the 2016 University District Plan, which currently we're achieving part of with our renovations on East Maple. If you drive there now, you'll see the beautiful University District banners up on the decorative light poles. The 2018 Parks Expansion Plan, which just a few weeks ago, you all received the latest update from Deputy Director Farina on the plans for Dogwood Park. Or third, the North Canton Safety Center plans, which earlier this year you all voted to approve land banking for up on North Main Street, and the administration is still working towards achieving that goal. Along the lines of the Safety Center also ties in long-term plans for city facilities. So the city has been steadily streamlining and improving services and consolidating departments into City Hall to create a one-stop shop, if you will. This leaves questions of what could be done with the other half of the Civic Center that used to be occupied by engineering and permits. This could be repurposed back into civic and community engagement opportunities like it was before those departments moved there. And once the Safety Center is built, the current fire and police departments will be emptied. What happens to the facilities they currently occupied, both in City Hall and along Main Street and 7th Street? And then finally, internal initiatives are things that the city is doing inside City Hall that the public wouldn't necessarily see because they're not highly visible, but demonstrate that the city is still moving forward. So this includes adopting appropriate software, improving records retention, auditing city ordinances like what we just talked about in committee on community and economic development, improving our housing code. These are things we are undertaking internally that aren't necessarily highly visible, but feed into that sense of creating a better community. As always, if you want or need more detail, feel free to reach out to me or see my accompanying full written report, which includes much more than what I could possibly cover tonight. If there are no questions, then with President Peters' permission, I'd like to give the floor to the mayor, who would like to talk more about what is the future of this plan.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, President Peters. Well, folks, there are two primary choices in life: to accept conditions as they exist or accept the responsibility for changing them. That's a quote I found from Dennis Waitley. He's an American motivational speaker, writer, and a consultant. So as Ben has presented, thank you for your overview and your observations. I appreciate that. So we're looking at what is next. I share these thoughts with you tonight. I've decided to revitalize the 2012 master plan and update a master plan for the 21st century. This is a critical time in the evolution of the city of North Canton. The city is facing unique challenges brought on by a population reaching retirement age, attracting young families and professionals, changing preferences for ways to live or travel, our rapid technology advances, a shifting economic ground, and our goal of staying and remaining competitive in an ever-changing marketplace. Comprehensively, these challenges for us include maintaining a city that has attractive neighborhoods, affordable housing options, ways to safely travel, a flourishing natural environment, and creating a corridor of opportunity for an active and healthy business climate, ultimately leading North Canton to become a city of choice or destination. Now, understandably, city planning is a balancing act of short-term and long-term concerns, public interests and business interests, public safety and services, financial stability, water quality, waste and recycle management, parking, land development, public recreation amenities, and addressing cultural arts and educational elements. The plan for the 2021 Master Plan Steering Committee is to create a balance in the community that serves the public well. As you saw in the 2012 plan, there was a steering committee. So I envision the steering committee to communicate the committee's community-wide initiatives, goals, external and internal priorities for city leadership, and all this primarily designed in full cooperation and collaboration and support for and with the responsibility of the North Canton City government. We are fortunate to have in 2012 as the chairman for that was Bill Strominger. Bill is a consultant for organizational leadership and development in business and in planning strategy. As I said, he served as chair of the steering committee of North Canton Master Plan of 2012. I asked him to sign on again to bring his experience and knowledge of what happened in 2012. Again, he's doing this at no charge to the city, but volunteering his time to organize a steering committee for us. So President Peters, I'd like to allow Bill Strominger to briefly explain, which some of you are probably familiar with, our 2021 steering committee. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, President Peters, Vice President Revolt, administration, council. Let me just spend a few minutes to explain just a few parts that Ben did a great job with the overview, but the process I think is important because besides using a KSU, Cleveland Urban Design, as our consultant, it was very important that we used a professional to do this. So let me explain a little bit of the process. We had a 12-member steering committee. As a matter of fact, Councilman Soretta was one of them. We also had other members of city government. We did have 3 meetings of the steering committee over a period of time it was approximately 6 months. We did have 3 citizen input meetings that we invited the community to attend and give their input in breakout sessions. All of this was done at the Barrett Center through the generosity of Walsh University and President Gisome. President Gisome says, use the facility at no cost, whatever you need. And he surely did do that for us. So what we did was we after that 6-month period, we produced a report, and it was about 87 pages. And probably the most important thing that we did was that we emphasized in the report, this was not a chamber report. This was not a city report. This was a citizen report. We listened and we recorded and we put together action plans of what our citizens wanted. And we had very good attendance at the 3 public meetings, 75 to 90 people at the meetings. But that was the emphasis, is that we wanted to listen to you, and we wanted to make sure that we said, what do you want to see your city become? What do you think are the important parts of the city that need to be improved? So that was the whole 2012 process. So why do we do a 2021 master plan? Well, I think you all know we need to compete. We are surrounded by very, very active, very aggressive cities, townships that need and want to grow their population and business. And so we need to do the same. We need to compete in order to survive our a little under 7 square miles. We need to attract more young families. We need to attract small businesses. We need to use the land that we have wisely have land banked. We need to continue to build amenities to attract citizens, outsiders to North Canton. We need to make it a destination. We need to embrace our relationship with our 2 biggest employers. That is Walsh University and North Canton City Schools. And we need to build a relationship with developers and entrepreneurs. That's how we build the city to be the future. We need to be just like that article that I'm sure you all read in Business View magazine, as the city of choice. It was a tremendous article that I hope and pray that all of you have read, so you get a feeling that a lot of things are not broke within our 7 square miles. Thankfully, we have a city that has services that are absolutely the best. The police, fire, EMT, road, water. We have a safe community. We have a well-maintained community. And now we're going to have new schools. And as you all know, that is a drawing card for young families to look at and say, my God, look at the new school in Charlotte and Claremont and what they're planning on doing with the middle school and the high school. It is an attraction that we need to do because our neighbors have been doing it. So what we need to do is to give the last year and all the things under mayor and administration, you council, that you've done a really good job of starting off. You've started to develop that toolbox. You've done things that basically I wish we would have done before the plan of 2012, because we're a little bit behind, but we're catching up. You've got the DORA. You've got the open outdoor dining. You've got things like the CRA. You've got the SIDS. You've got the CIC. You're working on the business-friendly zoning, housing codes that you just talked about tonight. You've got things that we need to do, land banking, which is probably one of the gutsiest things that this city has done. And I applaud you 100% because you took control of the land that is so valuable to us for what we can do in the future. There's one thing that in the toolbox that you're probably not aware of. That when I was chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, we actually developed a 501c3 called the North Canton Community Growth Association. The reason why it's separate, and it is a separate organization from the chamber, is that it's a 501c3. It was legitimate for raising dollars that people can write off their taxes. So if we wanted to do what Mr. Young was talking about some of the plantings and some of the furniture, the outdoor furniture, this would be a great tool to use to raise money. And then it can have people that donate can write it off. It's just another tool to add to our box. So, when we look at this new plan, we're going to follow the same format. We're going to get input, public meetings, 3 meetings. We are going to have 3 meetings with 12 of the people that will be the potential members of the steering committee. And I've already started on this. I will just give you what type of people that are going to be part of the steering committee. We're going to have a homeowner that obviously owns a business, that has children in our schools. We have a Walsh University administration vice president. We have a Walsh student. We have a member of the North Canton City Schools. We have city council member. We have a commercial developer and homeowner. We've got a business on Main Street, a new business. We've got a retired executive that has been long-term with our community. We have a member of a foundation we're going to have on. We have a resident that represents the senior citizens. We have city administration. We've got a graphic designer. And beside myself and the director of the program for Cleveland Urban Design, that's going to make up the 12 plus the two of us for putting together the 2021 plan. We will produce a report. We will also, and I have to put a plug in, I met with Dr. Collins, who is maybe not the relatively new president of Walsh University, and he is as gracious as Mr. Jasome was. And we now have the facilities offered to us, the Barrett Center. So we can have a breakout session and have social distancing. He also said you can have my president's conference room for the steering committee. So we don't have to have a cost on that. So what I need from you tonight is a commitment to implement. The action plan will be, just as Mr. Young mentioned, there'll be new action plans. There'll be new suggestions. There'll be new ideas. There'll be new priorities. But what I need from city government, from the mayor, administration, and council, is that we have the commitment to make this happen. Because I'm afraid if we do not, and I'm not naive enough to think that not all things like the bike lanes, we knew that may be far-fetched. But the reason why it was put in as a connector to the students at Walsh to come downtown. But we need to have more activities, more things for them to come downtown. That's why the bike lanes were there. So I need your commitment to get this done. Now I have one problem. It's called the pandemic. I already mentioned to the potential steering committee members that I don't know how and when we're going to meet sometime after the first of the year. I don't know whether or not we should wait until the second quarter to start the public meetings. I think that would be wise. The Cleveland Urban Design is very, very open to working with us on the time frame. They are working up the proposal. And so I will be able to review that with the mayor and with Mr. Revolt when I get it in my hands. But I'm excited. I hope you are too. I hope you understand that we do want the city to be a place of destination, of opportunity. So I'm honored that the mayor asked me to do this. I will give it my very best, and I will present to you a terrific plan. Mr. President Peters, I will be open for any questions if anybody has any.
Well, Bill, first let me say thank you for taking a leadership position on this steering committee. And speaking for myself, I'll let the others speak for themselves. You have my support 100%. So I'll open it up to the rest of council. Anyone have a question for Mr. Strominger?
Thanks, Bill. It's Dominic. Yeah, I'm in too. That's a good plan, and it'll be nice to see it actually executed.
Thank you, Dominic.
All right. Any other comments or concerns regarding the master plan?
Mr. President, this is Daryl. Bill, I want to thank you and through you extend thanks to the committee members who've agreed to serve. I think it is absolutely critical, and it's part of any good management, to look at a plan and evaluate the success that it's had, and whether the fundamental assumptions that have driven it are still valid. And I applaud Ben for asking that very, very critical question. I would only make one observation, and that is, I hope that even with the pandemic environment, that this committee can bring to council a series of recommendations, much like a charter review commission would bring to council its proposals for action, but also to do it so we can work it into the budget. I know we're talking, we just are wrapping up 21, but those conversations for 2022 are going to begin sometime mid-year. So I want to underscore that if we want progress and we need to finance certain activities or initiatives, we need to be able to work it in the budget.
Indeed.
For 2022.
Yep, good point, Daryl.
This is Stroya. Yeah, this is Stroya. I had myself on mute, but thanks, Bill. You have my commitment to the plan and the commitment to the follow-up of the plan as well. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Councilman Foltz. Bill, thank you for your leadership on this, Mayor, administration, and Ben, thank you for the recap of the master plan earlier. Looking forward to moving in a positive direction for North Canton. So thanks for everybody's time and putting this committee together. I appreciate that.
Hey, Bill, this is Soretta. Hey, thanks again for taking this on. You did a great job last time. I'm sure it'll be even better this time.
Well, Mark, thank you for what you did for the signage and those incredible, I call them obelisks, for the entrance to you did that through fundraising. And I know that most people that know about that deeply appreciate that you put forth that effort. So thank you for doing that for us and for the backing for the 2021 plan too.
Hey, Bill, it's Stephanie.
Hi, Steph.
And I want to agree. One, how you doing?
Yeah.
Thanks. Not participate last week. We got so behind. So Mark, thank you. But it's so great to bring the plan back. And Bill, thank you for taking time for thinking about who very purposely should be on that committee to move our program forward, and you have my full support, and I'm glad to see it. And Ben, I like.
Thank you, Steph.
Yeah,
thanks
Wherever
for the
you are,
gibberish.
Steph.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty hearing you, Steph, but we got the lion's share of what you were trying to say. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
All right, no worries. Anybody else have any comments?
Thank you,
All right.
President Peters.
All right, seeing none. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate your time tonight. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thanks, Bill.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a special presentation from Olivia Johnson, National Delegate of the Girl Scouts, on her book, Our Hometown Heroes. Olivia, it is a pleasure and an honor to have you tonight. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Preston. Thank you, Vice President, Mayor, and Council. Good evening, everyone. My name is Olivia Johnson. I am a current Ambassador Girl Scout. I've been a Girl Scout for about 14 years. And I am currently finishing up my Gold Award, which is the highest award a Girl Scout can earn. I currently work in a nursing home. I've worked here for about 3 years. And I got the idea for my Gold Award project when I heard a couple of the residents here tell me some stories. I heard them tell me these stories, and then I asked them if they had children or nieces or nephews, and they shared with me that they did not. That got me kind of thinking that when several of our senior citizens pass on, these stories are just going to kind of vanish and disappear. So I've always heard, especially from my peer group, that the stereotypes with elderly people and our senior citizens are unfortunately very bad, especially with my generation and younger generations. This kind of hurts me a lot, especially working in a nursing home. So I wanted to try and shut down those stereotypes and bring together a lot of these generations. So what I've done is I started by interviewing several people, very influential and inspiring people in our community, And I've put together those stories into a book, which I'm publishing in about the next week, which will be entitled Our Hometown Heroes. The people that I've included in their book are absolutely very influential. They have done so many inspiring things, and they'll inspire our children growing up and the people that are coming up in schools right now. My goal is that I can try and connect the generations between these two generations while creating a pen pal organization between children and residents in the nursing homes. I've set up a video that I'll be sending out to Google Classrooms to all of our local schools, and they'll be playing those in several classrooms and for several different occasions. I have set a challenge for the children in those classrooms that they have a challenge to cool the nursing home and find one resident in there that has the same passion as they have. The receptionist should know. And then once they found someone that they connect with, I've asked them to write a letter to set up kind of a pen pal connection between them and an elderly resident. I'm really hoping that this will connect our children growing up and our elderly residents, because they have so much wisdom and so much knowledge that they are willing to share. They just need someone to listen. Our senior residents are so important to our town, as well as our children growing up and our adults in between. My goal is to try and connect all of these generations together and make a lasting community and with an everlasting connection between them all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Olivia. This is Member Peters. I have a question. Is there any way that we could gain access to that video that you're going to be showing in the classrooms? How would we, is there a link to that?
Yes, absolutely. I haven't posted it yet, but I'm planning on posting it on YouTube as well as sending it to the classroom, so I can send you the YouTube link.
That would be great. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Olivia?
Just Mayor Wilder here. Thank you, Olivia, again for your presentation and your spirit and willingness to make that connection in our community for so many people. So thank you, and I wish you the best with earning that Girl Scout highest award, that gold award.
Olivia, Dominic Fonte, I'm an Eagle Scout, so I understand what the highest award's like. And that's a huge honor, and I'm sure you're one of the rare ones to accomplish that. And I'll tell you, the nursing home, I just lost my mom last month. She was at St. Luke's, and then we got her home for a few days before she passed. And I'll tell you, when they locked everything down, it just made a bad situation a lot worse. And so by doing the pen pal and coming up with someone to communicate with them, I think that's huge. I mean, what a nice thought. So I wish you luck in the future.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Okay, anyone else have a comment? All right, Olivia, thank you again so much. I appreciate all you're doing and all you've done, and best of luck.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everybody.
You as well.
Thank you.
All right, folks, moving on to old business. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 68-20?
Revolt moves.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 135, Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Service of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton, specifically Section 135.03A, Personnel, to create the Fire Battalion Chief position.
All right, thank you, Ben. We've discussed this in committee and have had 2 readings. If there are no further questions or comments, I entertain a motion to adopt the 3rd reading, ordinance 68-20.
Revolt moves.
Move good. Bolt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 72-20?
Revolt moves.
Bolt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an extension agreement in the collective bargaining process by and between the City of North Canton and Fraternal Order of Police Ohio Labor Council Incorporated Police Lieutenants and Sergeants, the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association Patrolmen, and/or the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association full-time dispatcher/lead dispatcher if negotiations continue past December 31st, 2020 and result in a mediation conducted by the Ohio State Employment Relations Board.
Okay, same here. This is the third reading. I want to thank Pat, the mayor, and his staff, Patrick, for taking the lead on this. Pat, do you have anything more to add before we have the third reading or approve the third reading?
Just thank council for moving forward with this. Our negotiations resume tomorrow and on Wednesday, and it'd be nice that this is passed on its third reading tonight. Be very helpful.
All right, very good. Well, with that, entertain a motion and a second to adopt the third reading, ordinance 72-20.
Revolt moves.
Both seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, ordinance 75-20.
Revolt moves.
Both seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to advertise and receive bids according to specifications now on file in the Director's office for the purchase of water treatment plant chemicals for use by the city's drinking water treatment plant, and authorizing the mayor, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into a contract for the purchase of said chemicals.
All right. Chairwoman Warren, do we have you
Okay,
back on?
I think you do.
Okay.
This is pretty much self-explanatory. We're just receiving bids for chemicals for the water plant. I move to adopt.
Revolt
Okay.
seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, ordinance 76-20?
Revolt moves.
Warren
Both
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to advertise and receive bids according to specifications established by the Department of Administration, and authorizing the mayor, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into contracts for the completion of those projects and purchases over $50,000 and budgeted for in the 2021 annual budget as adopted by Ordinance 66-2020.
All right, thank you. Chairwoman Warren.
Okay, last week we talked a lot about this, almost line by line item, which we had previously also done and throughout the budget. So a lot of good questions last week, and just really follow up to what we really had talked about in the budget, and some new questions and some other things that are moving forward. So we're just asking for authorization for items over 50,000. So I move to adopt.
Steph,
Madam
just a
Chair.
special note, the Arrowhead stuff was all taken out of this one and put in another.
A separate one that we'll see.
I appreciate it. Right.
Yeah, and that
So
will be
has
later
been
on.
split, so Dom and I can vote on it.
Oh, great,
Right.
okay.
Just to
And
know.
you'll see that later on. Thanks.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Warren
Both
second.
Seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Now, are we ready to move forward on the new rules for recognition of visitors at council meetings?
Yes, we are.
Ben, okay. May I have a motion and a second to consider for adoption new rules of council as proposed?
Revolt moves.
Both seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries.
If I may, I'd just like to note
Yep.
for the record, as this is the first time we've amended the rules, that Rule 31 does require 2 votes, so this will be back in January.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ben. Okay, moving on. I may have a motion and a second to read by title only, ordinance 77-20.
Did we vote to adopt that rule?
Yeah, what was that
I
all
see.
about?
So Rule 31 requires that in the first council meeting, there's a motion to consider the rules, which is what you all
Okay.
just voted on. In a
Okay.
separate council meeting will then be the vote to adopt.
All right, very
So
good.
that's
Thank you.
that's where you get the 2 votes across 2 meetings to ensure that there's
Okay.
ample time for public input.
Perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for the clarification on that, Ben. Okay, where was I? Did I ask for a motion and a second to read ordinance 7720?
Revolt's going to make that motion.
Oh, there you go.
Stroya seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance to repeal in their entirety Section 111.09 Rules of Decorum, Courtesy, and Propriety, and Section 111.10 Recognition of Visitors of Chapter 111 Council of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
All right. Thank you. Chairman Stroya.
Okay, Ben, you can go ahead and take a lead, and I'll go ahead and fill in here. Go ahead.
So you all just voted to consider the new rules for recognition of visitors and speaking before council. This ordinance would repeal our current provisions, which are potentially conflicting with those rules. It is on emergency so that it will take effect at the same time as adopting new rules, but the request was from the committee was to not act on that emergency clause until the second reading when the second vote for the new rules comes up.
So we don't need the emergency now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Correct. So it'll just be a regular reading tonight.
Okay.
It's the motion. I move we adopt the first reading of ordinance 77-20.
Stroya seconds.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion carries. All right. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 78-20?
Revolt moves.
Bold seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to advertise and receive bids according to specifications now on file in the Director's office, and authorizing the Mayor, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into a contract for the 2021 street resurfacing program at a cost not to exceed $350,000 and declaring the same to be an emergency.
All right. Chairman Fonte?
Yes, we talked about this last week. Engineer Graham's on if anybody has specifics, but it's our annual program and he's getting it out early like he's been doing the last 3 years or 4 years. We've been lucking out and getting some very good pricing and saving quite a bit of money actually. So he's sending it out for bid, and this is not an emergency. We want to see if there's no questions. We want to get this reading passed ASAP.
All right. Is that a motion to adopt the first reading?
It is, and if anybody has any questions, you can ask Rob. He would be able to give more specific.
All right. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Revolt seconds.
Bold seconds.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
Revolt moves.
Bold seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, may I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 7820 under suspension of the rules?
Revolt moves.
Bold seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 79-20?
Revolt moves.
Bold seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
Abstain. Stroya.
Member Soretta abstains. Motion passes 6-0. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to advertise and receive bids according to specifications established by the Department of Administration, and authorizing the Mayor, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into contracts for the completion of those projects and purchases over $50,000 and budgeted for in the 2021 annual budget as adopted by Ordinance 66-2020 and pertaining to Arrowhead Golf and Event Center.
All right, thank you. Chairwoman Warren.
Okay, so as Mark mentioned, this was just a breakout of the above $50,000 expense relating to Arrowhead Country Club. So it's the same $50,000 and just board approval. So I motion to adopt.
Revolt seconds.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Surratt abstains.
Dominic abstains.
Yep, member Soretta and Fonte abstain. Motion passes 5-0. All right. Okay, at this time, I'd like to amend the agenda to add for consideration ordinance 80-20 concerning the year-end appropriations, which was recommended to council by the Finance and Property Committee at the previous meeting.
Revolt moves that we amend the agenda to include ordinance 80-20 and suspend the rules for a committee report.
Warren, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 80-20?
Revolt
Warren
moves.
moves. Warren, second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the supplemental appropriation of funds for current expenses during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
All right, Chairwoman Warren.
Okay, Gina did a great job talking about this since no one could hear my garbled message. So thank you, Gina. And I move to adopt.
Revolt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And may I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
Revolt moves.
Stroya
Bolt
seconds.
seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 80-20 under suspension of the rules.
Revolt moves.
Bolt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, on to reports. Deputy Director of Administration.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say for this final 2020 council meeting, wow, what a year, right? We've been through a lot. So, our team has accomplished a lot, everyone from council to administration, everyone through rain, sleet, snow, pandemic. We didn't miss a single day of service. We performed at our best through a global pandemic. So kudos to everyone. This weekend, as you know, will be the final weekend for the drive-through, the Light Up North Canton drive-through. I wanted to just read something quickly. We received a little plug, if anybody didn't hear. It was on the radio. It was on 94.9 WQMX, as well as it's on their website as a blog. One of their DJs, Sarah Kay, noted she was driving through downtown North Canton on Saturday, saw signs for something called Holiday Drive Through North Canton. She was intrigued, so at 5:30 decided to go see what it was about. A bunch of local businesses decked outside lights. We saw Santa the Grinch, Frozen Princesses, and more. In front of City Hall and the library, there was a drive-through to drop off unwanted new toys and letters to Santa, and it was so cute and so fun. What a great idea, North Canton. The lights were so fun to look at. Everyone was honking and yelling Merry Christmas. People were so merry and bright. It made me smile and it made me feel a bit normal during this time. There's 1 week left to experience the holiday drive-through in North Canton. This coming Saturday, 5 to 7. Just drive up Main Street in North Canton and enjoy. So that was a really nice plug from her. And it is the last weekend. We expect it to be very crowded. And thanks so much to the amazing holiday spirit that Councilman Soretta has to always keep this going every year, as well as the great people at the library and, the folks on our team, like, Kelly Hart. She puts a lot of her heart into this. And it's been a really great thing the past 3 weekends, and might be something we might want to consider going forward every year, something similar to this, because it was such a success. So just happy holidays to everybody, and see you in the 2021.
All right. Thank you, Catherine. Director of Administration.
Yes, I just have one item to report, and it pains me to say it, but I promised that I would. Go Browns.
They just scored 7-0, by the way.
That's right. Nice.
That's it.
Did
Thank
they
you.
really nice?
Hey, is Stephanie at the game?
Maybe she is. All right, thank you, Patrick. Mayor Wilder.
Well, thank you, President Peters. That's tough to follow, all that. You know, as I look back on 2020, I reflect on how it's changed how much our lives have changed. And I want to choose to remember 2020 also as a year of great change, but strength for us. Progress did not stop despite the pandemic. I appreciate my first year in office with working with many talented people in the administration and throughout the city and all departments. And I appreciate the communication, cooperation, and collaboration with City Council. We've made some decisions, and we've removed obstacles. We found new ways to connect and embrace new approaches to our service in many ways. So I'm very thankful that we were able to get to the end of the year as we have. And I'm looking forward to 2021 with new progress and continued progress and a solid working relationship with City Council. So I appreciate all that you've done, and especially the people that I work with and I'm associated with here in the city in all departments. So hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy your holy days, and enjoy some time away with your family and reconnection. So thank you very much. And just one other thing. The Wednesday is the last night for the North Canton Farmers Market. I just want to make you all aware that the Ohio Department of Health stopped in last week while I was up there and gave them an A+ for the way they are managing and handling the farmers market, being in compliance with all the suggestions from the CDC, from the governor's office, Stark County Health Department, and the Ohio Department of Health. They were just, the representative there was just so appreciative of the Team Groschmidt and how they've pulled this together and the support from the city and what we've done. So just want to give you an update on that. We were very, very thankful for them to bring that little addition, sense of belonging to our community. So I want all of you to, stay safe and keep well. And thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, Director of Finance, Gina.
I have no financial report, but I do want to echo all of the teamwork comments that have been made. We really have accomplished a lot in a very crazy, odd year, and I'm very thankful for the administrative team and my staff, and we've really worked in a lot of different ways this year, but I believe it's made us all better, and we are all looking forward to next year.
Great, thank you, Gina. All right, Engineer Graham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess echo the sentiments as well. Just want to really thank my staff. We knocked out 8 projects this year, a total combined amount of about $6.5 million. We had about $4 million in grants. So they worked awful hard despite the COVID and the difficulties that gave us. But yeah, we didn't miss a beat and probably had a record year for the amount of work we got done. Just to update our projects, our Pittsburgh project, contractor suspended work Friday for the year. He just decided he didn't want to work another week and a half or so up until the holidays, and his crew was tired and kind of worn out, and told him to go enjoy the winter, that they'd be back in March. And they were at a good stopping point. There's really no disruptions to traffic or anything. And our East Maple project, if you haven't been out there, I'm really pleased with how that's looking. Ben mentioned it in his master plan report. Really the only thing left to do is we'll flip traffic tomorrow and start building the north half of that decorative Marquardt East Maple intersection. And really other than that, that's all that's left. waiting on AEP to get our power service out there, and we can energize the new decorative lights, but they're about ready to go as well. And just like to wish everyone a happy holiday season, and thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rob, and good work out there.
Thanks.
All right. Clerk Young.
Again, just echo what everyone's been saying I've experienced amazing teamwork and over this past year from everyone in all departments, and I've been very happy to be a part of this team. Other than that, I would just like to update council with the renovations to the office of council that have been going on. They are well underway now, and the office is really coming together. So after the first year, we should be set to go, and once the pandemic is over, we'll have a lovely workstation available for any council members who wish to come in and do some research on their own.
All right. Thank you, Ben. All right. Next up, council reports. We'll start with Member Stroya tonight.
Oh, great. All right. What a year. Run for council, they said, right? I appreciate everybody. It was a tough year. I share the same sentiments everybody's saying about teamwork, work in progress.
You can change.
I'll keep it short. So go Browns.
Wait,
Take care,
excuse
everybody.
me.
Support local.
Steph, can you please mute?
Steffi?
Can we fix it?
Girl.
Go ahead, Matt.
I'm done. Just go Browns. Take care, everybody.
Outstanding. Member Serrata.
Yeah, first of all, nice job. Kudos to all those folks who were involved in the Winterfest. I know we got 1 week left, and we probably won't meet, of course, till then. So kudos to all the volunteers and administration. Did a nice job with that. And yeah, that will kind of roll into next year with something that comes out of it. Also, very excited to see Bill Strominger lead and look at what we need to do with our future master plan. So nice job with Bill, and also Ben for taking the lead on that. Rob, great job with the road work. You've really done a fascinating job this year. It's just terrific. And we're real proud of everything you've done. And outside of that, happy holiday, everyone, and stay safe.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Member Revolt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo what's been said. Rob, Gina, Marty, Ben, the administration, a really great job. You know, I was looking while we were talking tonight at our legislative roster that Ben prepared. And I just bring council's attention to the fact that oftentimes the hardest, most difficult thing to do is to take plans and implement them. When you look at what this council's done over the last year in terms of economic development, it's just been terrific. A CRA, a DORA, we've done some land banking. We've made revisions to our zoning ordinance to improve the process and its administration. Contractor registration to make our place more business friendly. And yet, we even took the time to fix a couple little fence issues that made a couple constituents very happy.
Yes,
so I think we've looked at the big stuff and the little stuff. And I think we can close the books on this year knowing that we've certainly tried to make the place better than we found it. So season's greetings to everybody. I look forward to January.
All right. Thank you, Daryl. Member Fonte.
Thank you. It's been an exciting year, and all the comments that were made are very appropriate. So I say the same. Thanks. Instead of calling everybody out, thank you, team. It was a very good year. Obviously a different year, one that we'll probably never forget. And I'll leave you with season's greetings as well. Happy New Year. Remember, don't curse the wind, adjust your sails, which we have done. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, Member Warren. Do we have Steph?
You got me. Okay.
Oh, appropriate.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not going to repeat everybody too. I love the team atmosphere, and this has really been, I think, my favorite year working on council. And I just see us keep moving forward, and that trajectory has just really been a great thing to be a part of. And hearing the plan again this year and having so many different community members, it's great to see what's going to happen next. I just have a great quote that I heard this week. And it was from history professor Edward T. O'Donnell. And it said, history is the study of surprises. And boy, if that isn't true this year, I don't know what is. And but the fact that we have let uncertainty and instability and disruption a part of everything we've done, but we've continued to move forward is huge. And I think that we are a group that will keep looking for changes and knowing that we can adapt and move forward and not let some of these things get in our way. And we haven't. So thank you to everybody there. We so appreciate all you've done. So thank you.
Thank you, Steph. Member Foltz.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, happy holidays to everybody. Listen, not to be redundant, everybody said great things tonight. It's been a very productive year. I'm very proud of our efforts, and we've moved North Canton forward, and that's from the mayor, administration, council, and everybody, all the department heads. Been a great year for us. Thank you so much. I can't believe we haven't met since really March or April in person. That's amazing to me. I hope we do get to do that sooner than later next year, but job well done by everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Doug, and I'll echo that as well. I'm so proud of everyone, mayor, his staff, this council in the face of adversity this year. What you've managed to accomplish is nothing short of amazing. So happy holidays to everyone. Happy New Year. And with that, I will final call for new business.
I move we adjourn.
Well, real quick, we will return from break January 25th.
Yeah, on the 25th.
For committee of the whole, followed by a regular council meeting. And member of Volt, move to adjourn. I'll hear a second.
Second. Go Browns.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We
Thank
are
you.
adjourned, folks.
Bye.
Have a great year.
Take care, everybody.